Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. I guess this whole thing started back in 2003 when I did sell a company that I loved. I spent 29 years trying to create and then change an industry, and then sold it and went out to my cattle ranch and hung out with my cows for about 8 months to try and expunge as much as I possibly could from my mind, get the emotion out of selling a company that I loved and not being with the 5,000 or 6,000 friends that I had around the world that worked with me. And after I did that and broke a couple bones and other things, came back to Philadelphia, and really had no idea what I wanted to do. And I had years and years ago run into somebody that I had a lot of respect for. Her name was Faith Popcorn. I don't know how many of you recognize the name, but she had a way of spotting trends, and what she did was she would have thousands of people from around the world send her magazine articles, newspaper clippings, etc., and then she and some of the people that she worked with would look at these things and see if they noticed a trend. Well, I didn't have 1,000 people to help me, and my friends, when we go out to dinner, it's a table for 4, so I wasn't going to get much help there. So I needed a new way to figure out what I wanted to do next. And what I wanted to do next was solve what was supposedly an unsolvable problem. The problem was that I didn't know what the problem was. So I recreated what Faith Popcorn was able to do through technology. I got myself 6 different monitors, audio, video, and I surrounded myself in this cocoon in a small room with the sound level being even. And I brought in feeds from different parts of the world, different television shows, different news shows. Sometimes I switched one onto the web, whatever it was, and just really created this cacophony of sound hitting me until I could hear something coming through. So whether it was coming through from Germany or Australia or the U.S., it didn't matter. I simply wanted to hear something that seemed to be consistent. And what came through was how healthcare and the delivery of healthcare is broken, not only in America, but in a lot of places. So I happened to have another friend who was president of one of the Johnson & Johnson companies, who I really admired, not just as a business executive, because I really didn't know him as a business executive. I knew him as a soccer coach of one of my kids. And yeah, you can learn a lot about a person through sports, and you can certainly learn a lot about a person through watching them coach. I mean, to me, the 2 most important people other than family in anybody's life is a teacher and a coach. And I watched Peter coach, and he took what were the bad news bears of soccer, and not only turned them into a winning team, but I thought more importantly, he was able to get the parents to get along together, which is unusual in any sport, let alone soccer. And he approached me and said, "Hal, let's do something together." And I said, "Well, Peter, you were the youngest president of Johnson & Johnson. You've run McNeil, you've run Merck, Johnson & JV, you're running Janssen Pharmaceuticals. What the hell you want to, leave that to do something with me, especially since all I've been doing is hanging out with cows. And he said he wanted to do it. And, he had some, I guess, pretty good reasons. So we got together, and I shared with him what was coming through in this room of mine about healthcare being broken, and he, coming from the healthcare industry, was able to give me a lot of insight as well. So we decided that we were going to build a company that would create affordable, high quality, convenient healthcare, or the delivery thereof, for Americans, and begin to pull together and eliminate the socioeconomic divide in healthcare today, where those who have the means and those who have access have a longer life expectancy, and those who don't. And it was of particular interest to me because I ranch in North Dakota, which is very rural, and rural healthcare is horrible. Inner city healthcare is horrible. And whereas I, having access, was able to go to a physician who drew blood, and excitedly told me 3 weeks later that I'm pre-diabetic. My friends in North Dakota, not having access, would simply start to, lose feeling in their toes, lose their limbs, lose their eyesight, become impotent, and then die. Unfair, un-American, and it needed to be fixed. So, so what we did was, somebody told us to go to this, this father of startup companies in Philadelphia, and we both run these global companies, and sit down with this guy and explain what we wanted to do, and he said, well, it'll never work. Won't happen. It's impossible. Too complex. You're not going to get it insured. The insurance companies won't insure you. Your malpractice will be too high. The doctors are going to revolt. We're going to use nurse practitioners. They're all fully employed. A disaster. So we left that dinner, and Peter said, well, that's a problem. I said, yeah, that was the best meeting we've had. Because we've been driving around in my truck for weeks not knowing what the heck was going on. He said, why was it so good? I said, well, because no one's going to want to do it. So let's go do it. Government's not getting involved. It needs a private sector initiative. So, we started, just kicking around as we would literally drive around about what is the experience today for somebody who does have access, let alone somebody who doesn't. So here's what happens for a person like me and all of you that have access. You get a sore throat. Now you don't know if it's sore or if it's strep or whatever, and you call your doctor to get an appointment. And first thing you get is a recording, and then you have to press 1 if it's an emergency, 2 if it's a refill of prescription, 3 if it's to talk to a scheduler, 4 if you want the doctor to call you back in a week, 5 whatever it is, but you never get an individual. And the technology is not all that great that you can actually schedule over the phone either, at least with my physician's technology. So you get a call back sometime that day, the next day, and then you maybe get an appointment 2 or 3 days later, when at that point you're either deathly ill or it's going away and you don't need the help. Well, I'm usually deathly ill, Plus, I'm a hypochondriac to boot. So if I'm not deathly ill, I'm deathly ill. So I would go in and for my 9 o'clock appointment, trying to get in there early because you don't want to be like the second or third appointment because nothing's ever on time. You find out that there's 8 other people with a 9 o'clock appointment, and you then sit for 45 minutes, an hour, until all of a sudden, and you start watching people come out, like, and you're counting how many went in, how many are coming out. You're going, I think I'm next, and then if you're not next, Anyway, finally they take you back and they put you in a room. But it's not really a room. It's like the on-deck circle in a baseball game. Because you're not going to be seen. You're just there. And then they slam the door. So now you're alone with yourself. And if you're a person like me who doesn't like being with themselves, it's really not a good experience. You start getting apoplectic and all these other things. And you begin to try and listen for footsteps. You're listening to, like, what's going on in the room next to you, because is the doctor finishing up there? If you hear a door slam, you're saying, whoa, that's a good one. That's a good sign. Maybe they're coming. And then the first bit of hope is when they drop the, manila envelope or whatever it is with your health record in the slot in the door, because you're getting close. And then eventually you see the doctor. Doctor, obviously today, not being paid or not being remunerated, compensated by the insurance companies the way they'd like to be, have to see an awful lot of patients to make do. So you get a very quick exam, and then you're back to the checkout and pay whatever your copay is or cash or whatever, and you're kind of on your way. Well, while I'm in there being examined, something's always been going through my head. What the heck is he writing down? Because they're always writing down things. You don't see it. They're writing it down, and they're shoving it in that envelope, and that's you. That's your health record. That is all about you. I'd love to know about me. I don't know a damn thing about me. I don't know a damn thing about my parents. I mean, and if everything's genetic, or if things are genetic, we have a family no one ever talks about anything that's bad. So I don't know if there's any cancer in the family. I don't know if there's any hypertension in the family. I don't know a damn thing, because it's the secret of the Rosenbluth family is you simply just don't tell your children anything. So that's today's experience, if you have access. So we started looking at all that and said, how do we take what is a torturous experience and make it elegant? What's the elegant solution? So to do that, we broke everything down. And we thought of what happens from the time somebody feels ill to the time after they're on the road to recovery. Well, the first thing is, whenever you feel ill, you want immediate gratification. You don't feel well, you want to get better. And in this world, one of the things which we don't have is time. We're all busy. Kids are at school, single parents, all this other stuff. There simply isn't any time. So what happens is you really don't take care of yourself, and things get worse, and then costs go up for everybody, et cetera, et cetera. You all know the story. So we created this concept where we would put nurse practitioners in chain drugstores around the country, and you would not need an appointment. Everything would be electronic, and I'm going to share that experience with you. Well, the first thing you do is you can go online. You can see where our locations are. You can get directions if you want. Pretty soon you'll actually be able to check in before you even go. You don't need an appointment. And then you go to a Walgreens, or if in St. Louis or Kansas City or Chicago, Eckerd in Pittsburgh. And you remember, we only have usually one nurse practitioner who's doing everything. We need to keep it affordable. They're not used to doing everything. They're used to seeing a patient. The first thing that needs to happen is the person needs to check in. And like I said, there's nobody there to check you in. So we were inspired by the ordering system for a Wawa hoagie. Greatest thing ever. You touch, and very quickly you have ordered a hoagie. And quality is critically important in healthcare. You can't get it wrong. But how many times have you yelled across what you want for a hoagie and not gotten it right? But you get it right with the Wawa hoagie system because there's a printout. Not all that different than a health record. But in any case, so you check in, and as you're doing that, you're beginning to populate the electronic medical record or your electronic health record, which you have access to. The nurse practitioner who may be examining somebody at that point in time on their screen, on their computer that they're using, that's embedded with protocols and all these other things to help them guide a patient through the encounter. It will say so-and-so is here and for what reason. So they now know somebody's in the on-deck circle. And we show the patient as they're going through the encounter what's going into the system. So they're actually seeing what, not only what's wrong with them, it's being told to them by the nurse practitioner, but what they're entering in to the system, which guides them through protocols for what the treatment is. Now, obviously, nurse practitioners don't need that, but they use it as a set of guidelines. But we're involving the patient. And one of the differences between a physician and, I'm not anti-physician, I love physicians, I wish there were more, there just aren't enough, is that a physician, if a mother brings in a daughter with an earache, the physician will treat the earache and the person will leave. The nurse practitioner will treat the earache, but then treat the mother too. And because it's all part of their training, that this is what you should expect about your daughter, et cetera, et cetera. So now you have the encounter is taken care of, and the person is then given their discharge papers. And if they need to see a physician, we have the capabilities, the law doesn't allow for it right now, to send the electronic medical record for continuity of care right to that physician. But so we provide them with the printout, or we can give an access code to the physician to get into the system and see it. But what's nice about it is that to be a collaborating physician, to get a referral from one of our centers, they must see our patients that day. Okay? Now, people in America pay $16,000, $18,000, $20,000 now for what's known as concierge service for doctors to get in to see a doctor whenever you want without an appointment. For $59, even if we don't treat you, you can get in to see a physician that day or within 24 hours if the condition dictates that. If they need a specialist, the database comes up with an orthopedic, or it comes up with somebody else, once again based on the condition. The key to getting nurse practitioners, I said they're fully employed, is to understand why people aren't happy where they're working, if you want to attract them. And we've always believed that our strategic our sustainable strategic advantage is to be employer of choice in the healthcare system where most people are overworked and didn't like where they were working. The nurse practitioners, for the most part, they don't have control over their hours. They don't like being talked down to. They're not able to use all their skills. They spend a lot of money to go to school. They're all mastered, degreed in what they do. So we created an opportunity for them to work autonomously with a virtual collaborating physician if they need help on anything. And we allow them to participate in the profitability of their center. So we now teach business as well as they know the clinical stuff, but a lot of people don't know business. So we help them learn the business aspects and how to market and how to do a lot of other things so that they can grow their care center and work collaboratively with the other care centers in the market. Because we try and place these things 5 to 10 minutes from where anybody works or lives, and that makes it convenient. And that's affordable, as I said. It's $59 for an appointment. If you need something on top of that, then it's extra, and it's of high quality. Our satisfaction rate, and this is for medicine, it's 98%. Which is huge. Now, we're not talking about just the interaction with the nurse practitioner. It's the entire experience. One of the things which we do is we actually call back the next day to ask how the patient's doing. Not necessarily a nurse practitioner that saw that person, but since everything is in a network, any nurse practitioner anywhere in the country, it's available. It'll pop up on a queue, and they can call that person to see how they're doing because they have the history and they can discuss what needs to be with the patient. And then we create a patient support center so that if a patient wants to ask any questions other than medical, we're not equipped to answer the medical ones, that we refer them right back to the nurse practitioners. We do so. But people know, somebody calls in, we can say how many people are ahead of you, what center doesn't have anybody waiting. All these things. We're even working on how to improve how to wait. Because waiting is not fun. But sometimes you have to wait 30 minutes. And so we've been discussing with patients, what do you want to do when you wait? Most people that think, oh, well, they're going to want to go shop. They'll walk around Walgreens or they'll do this. No, when you're sick, you don't want to do that. You just want to get taken care of. So we're playing around with these waiting kits to improve that experience as well. So every touch point, whether it be electronic, whether it be human, we try and anticipate how to take something which is typically a very unpleasant experience and make it pleasant. I'm going to show you here a little bit about what this looks like. That's typical of a center. It's right next to the pharmacy in a Walgreens. 2 examination rooms, same as we would see in a physician's office. Their exam rooms are 100 and some square feet. You can see here, these are the Wawa Hogan touch screens to check in. If you're not computer literate, pick up the phone here, and then our patient support center will remotely check you in. And then this monitor here will just show you if there's anybody ahead of you. So you know exactly where you are in line, because that's what you want to know. It's why Walt Disney World says, it's 15 minutes to the front, or it's 30-minute wait, and then you can decide whether you don't want to wait or go somewhere else. This also, when you go and check in, it will tell you the closest center with the least number of people, because remember, they're only a couple miles away from each other. So rather than waiting maybe 45 minutes if there's nobody at another center, you check in here, you drive over, and you get seen. Okay, medical record, nothing exciting there. your exam rooms. Not a heck of a lot different from any other exam room. You can see a refrigerator there. I took that because right now we're giving out flu shots, and I think we're doing maybe 400 or 500 flu shots a day now. Some of our nurse practitioners, like I said, they are our sustainable competitive advantage, because once we go into a city and we hire all the nurse practitioners that want to do this, there are none left. Great barrier to entry. Unless you're a lousy place to work, and you're creating the opportunity for somebody to come in and duplicate what you're doing. So, just as anything in business, at least from my belief, is focus on the people you employ so they have nothing to do but focus on the people that they're there to focus on. That's what we try and do. So, I started this by saying we were told it would never happen, that it couldn't be done, it was impossible, it wasn't going to work, and now I'd like to show you what's being talked about these days. This was like a year and a half ago we came up with this concept.
All this week, ABC News is looking at ways that healthcare might be improved in America. And tonight, we take a look at a phenomenon spreading across the nation: walk-in health clinics in drug, grocery, and retail chain stores. There are more than 140 of these clinics with names like Minute Clinic and slogans such as "You're sick, we're quick." The prices are low, the wait times are short. But are they for everyone? And do they provide good health care? Here's ABC's Kate Snell.
Sue Jarrett was feeling lousy. About to leave on an overseas trip, her primary care doctor was unavailable, so she ended up here at a new clinic in suburban Pittsburgh, built into the back wall of an Eckerd drugstore.
I didn't have to make an appointment, and I got right in. I had concerns about being on the plane. I knew we were going to be on one of the planes for 11 hours.
Jarrett got a prescription and even learned her blood pressure was a little high.
Another thing that was really nice is they just filled the prescription right here.
After signing it at a kiosk, most patients see a nurse practitioner within minutes.
They're not in every neighborhood yet, but new clinics are being built every week. This particular company has 22 clinics in 3 states now, but in the next 3 years, they hope to have 1,000 nationwide.
We have a healthcare system that is fundamentally broken.
Peter Miller says his company, Take Care, is tapping into a huge demand for affordable, easy-to-access health care. Retail clinics are operating in 19 states in major retailers. In the past 6 years, they've seen more than 600,000 patients.
We have the benefit of sort of an outside observer of the healthcare system. And as opposed to being stuck in the way it is, we get to design a system in the way we think it should be. And we did that centered entirely around the patient.
Most are open 7 days a week, often late into the night. Some insurance plans do cover the visits, but anyone can pay out of pocket. Respiratory illness, $59 to $74. Flu shot, $25. Physical, $45.
When I came into the clinic, I was in tears. I was crying.
Nicole Curenton came in with a massive ear infection. 25 and uninsured, she's too old to be covered by her parents' policy, too young to afford the plan offered by her employer.
I wouldn't have got treated at all if this clinic wasn't here. I wouldn't have went to the emergency room because that's too expensive.
Retail clinics insist they're not trying to replace doctors. The scope of services they offer is narrow. But for someone like Nicole Curenton, it was all she needed.
When I left here, I asked the lady if I could give her a hug because I was so like, thank you.
One of many satisfied customers treated in a matter of minutes. Kate Snow, ABC News, Rochester, Pennsylvania.
And our series continues tomorrow. We'll take a look at the deluxe health care plan enjoyed by Congress and others in the U.S. government. Could it be expanded to include everyone and the 40 million working Americans without health insurance?
While we're getting this ready, one of the things I forgot to mention is when we send a script, it's electronic and it goes to the top of the queue so that you don't have to wait for your prescription either.
Now to today's installment of ABC's network-wide series, Prescription for Change, Fixing American Healthcare. This morning we'll take a look at a rapidly growing trend, walk-in clinics. They're popping up in pharmacies and retail stores all over the country. There are about 140 of these so far around the country. But do they really offer quality medicine? That's the question, and Kate has been looking into it. What did you find?
What we found, it was very interesting. You mentioned last night that you had one of your kids was feeling a little sick. Well, so what do you do if it's 8 o'clock at night and your kid has an earache, or if you work all day, you can't make it to the doctor between 9 and 5, or you're young, you can't afford insurance? Well, across the country, people are discovering a solution, health care, that's as easy as a run to the store.
Donald Brady's regular doctor is in Florida, so when he was feeling sick in Pittsburgh, he came to this small clinic on the back wall of an Eckerd drugstore.
I had the choice of sitting in a emergency room forever, which you shouldn't be doing anyways, or finding a doctor here.
When I came into the clinic, I was in tears. I was crying.
25-year-old Nicole Curington has no insurance. She came in with a painful ear infection.
I wouldn't have got treated at all if this clinic wasn't here.
It is incredibly convenient. You come, you see a nurse practitioner, you get a prescription, and just about 20 feet away, you can get that prescription filled at the pharmacy.
Right now in the United States, there are about 150 of these retail healthcare clinics, and we expect in the next few years there could be up to 5,000.
CEO Peter Miller says his company and others are tapping into a huge demand for affordable, easy-to-access health care. Retail clinics are operating in 19 states, in stores like Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Kroger supermarkets.
This model is not a replacement for primary care physicians. We view ourselves as a beginning, not an end.
Most are open 7 days a week, often late into the night. Some insurance plans do cover the visits, but anyone can pay out of pocket. Respiratory illness, $59 to $74. Flu shot, $25. Physical, $45.
I do worry that there might be a little bit of inappropriate pressure on the nurse practitioners to treat things with medications or to recommend things that the drugstore is selling.
But Gleet says as long as they're closely monitored, the clinics seem to be filling a real void. Donald Brady was in and out in less than an hour, antibiotics in hand.
I think the whole thing makes sense. You know, it's one-stop shopping, you might say, and if for minor things such as this is, I think it does the trick.
Now, he did pay $59 plus the cost of the antibiotic right there at the Eckerd, but he said he was a satisfied customer.
Of course, I mean, everybody's looking for solutions. Healthcare is getting so expensive, but with this one, the consumer beware seems to come to mind. What do you have to look
There's
out?
not too much of that, though. We talked to a lot of experts, and I thought there might be some big red flags. There are a couple. I mean, they say they need to be supervised. They need to have doctors watching over them, of course. And they need to make sure that their medical records are kept so that, you go in, they give you a report. You need to take that to your regular doctor so that there's continuity of care. That's an issue. You want to make sure they're linked into the health system in the area. But not a lot of critique of this. People are pretty happy with this as an option.
People are so hungry for solutions. Thanks for telling us about this one.
Socioeconomic gap in delivery of health care, but equally important, just having access for everybody. Like you heard, we're not out to replace doctors. We believe in a medical home. It should be a physician's office. But physicians aren't there all night, not there on weekends, and we are. So we work in an integrated, collaborative way. Questions? Yeah.
I didn't realize nurse practitioners could write prescriptions.
Yeah, they can write prescriptions in, I think, every state now. There are certain levels when you get to narcotics. That certain states will not allow for that. But in every state you can write a prescription. Yeah. Great. The insurance, Highmark? Highmark. Highmark is receiving us very well as of December 1st. But it's taken us a year to get them to go through their bureaucracy. But they really like it because it reduces their costs, keeps people out of the emergency room. So, perfect example. We've been turning away 25% of the people in Pittsburgh right now because we can't accept Highmark till December 1st. They're all going to the emergency room. So instead of $59 that we get reimbursed by Highmark, it's $325 at the emergency room. So it's costing, not only is it costing Highmark more, but it's also clogging up the ERs. And if you listen to the news in the last couple of days, they're talking about how many patients are having heart attacks and are dying because they're not being treated fast enough because they're sitting in the emergency rooms, not being seen because others with pink eye and other things are being seen. So yeah, the managed care companies really like us, but it's been a learning curve. Yeah. The pediatricians were giving us pushback initially because until you explain it, we try and send a letter out to every physician in the community. There's concern that we're going to take their business. But what we're really doing is we're bringing people into the system that weren't there before. And if you look at the children that we see, 51% of them would have gone to the emergency room or urgent care simply because they couldn't get in to see their pediatrician. They don't come to us necessarily first. Some do, but it's typically because they can't get in from somewhere else. Yeah. The biggest challenge was the fact that I know nothing about medicine, as you can tell. So that was a challenge to me to try and understand some of it. It also was a help because I refuse to just accept status quo. The other was getting the contracts, which you have to have with the retailers. So we're successful in doing that. That's been it. Everything else has come along pretty good, but it's a lot of explaining. A lot of explaining. Yeah. We don't know how many. We don't get a lot of repeat because we're acute, non-recurring. We want them to go to the physicians. Believe me, there are more than enough people out there. We're not after that. There's 300 million Americans out there today. There's plenty of sick people to go around. So we would like them to go see their physician. Physicians can do more than we do. We have, ours is self-limiting kinds of things. Strep throat, otitis media, earaches, bronchitis, upper respiratory, that stuff. Yeah. The first we went with, we used a company called Acupol to test our concept. It came out as the #1 concept in 2 years. And then we got together with patients and we sat down and just asked them about the experience and what they wanted. And then we put our IT organization together with the patients, put our marketing group together with the patients. We had focus groups with physicians also. And then we had the nurse practitioners design our EMR system based on the way they practice, which is different than the way others practice, and that makes it faster. Yes? Yeah. Load balancing on that airlines use to decide how many seats you sell on a plane, things like that, going back to my previous career. You don't want to have too many people go to one place at one time. Things like that. Patient support center, technology there, running call centers. A lot of stuff in that area. Able to transfer over. Yes. First of all, on the kiosk, touchscreens, the whole HIPAA, and you read it, accept it, etc. Then your name, we only use the first name and last initial, and the rest of it's all inside of that status as to when for the queue. That's not a problem at all. It's people don't know really and the ailments are such that one, yeah, it could be a violation. You know, you put in hepatitis or something. People don't. If it's outside of our scope of practice, we immediately get you to somebody. If you've been examined, yeah, then you get 59. If you haven't, come in right away. We say, okay, look, this is, you know, you should be in the ER, you should be here. Then, yeah, we're clear, you're out of it. Yes. Yeah, we take insurance, and we have, once again, we're trying to make it as simple and easy for the nurse practitioner. So we have a swipe card, but the insurance companies aren't ready for that yet, universally. So we can swipe the credit card, and we scan the insurance scanner, and then that populates into the EMR, and then that everything electronically gets filled right out to the. Yeah. Get inside the network. Well, if you're in the network, then some of us are in the network. Yes.
So with regard to ongoing interviews, you continue to do interviews with your patients and nurse practitioners. So you set this all up to start with, but now you have something for seniors to implement?
Yeah, part of our patient satisfaction survey. Patient satisfaction surveys and nurse practitioner surveys. We collect all the data. We're looking at average, encounter time, average wait time, everything you can. We're actually looking at too much because some data is not worth looking at, and other data confuse the heck out of it. What we did was we sent our officers in to spend a day in one of the centers as opposed to looking at graphs for a while. Now it makes sense. Yes. No. Oh yeah, that's the other component of this. We market very heavily on television, radio, print. Excuse me? No. The TV commercials that we were using early on, we stopped using the new ones. He's done it now last week. We don't. When we come into an area, the first thing we do is we go to different medical societies and talk to them first about what we're about. Because, like I said, if you're not educated, you think we're out there to steal patients, and we're not. Then we go out and we open for a week or so without doing much advertising, making sure that all nurse practitioners are comfortable with all the electronics, etc., and then we blast the advertising to the point where we have 60% awareness. One of the nice things is we're not vying for share of mind. There's nothing else like it. It's not like Tylenol versus Advil versus Motrin versus this. This is is it. So as long as we get it out there, it tends to stick. Okay, got it. Wrapped up on this, but. No. The touch screen is simply for the patients. The nurse practitioners use an EMR that is. We have 2 weeks of orientation. 1 week of which is electronic enrollment. So yeah, they're all versed in it, but still sometimes you have a patient right in front of you. So they will be more going into Miami next. So yeah. Well, thank you all very much.